Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the third General KST Medal Memorial Lecture. May I request you to kindly switch off your cell phones and stand for the school song. Thank you. Please be seated. And indeed, Reverend Pakenham Walsh would have been delighted to hear that the entire version of the school song was sung. I think many of us are accustomed to the abridged version. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the third General KST Medal Memorial Lecture. A lecture series that a few of us old boys, in harmony with the principle, conceived of as a tribute series. And when we started, I think the intention was no doubt to pay tribute to General Thimayya. But I think at this, the third lecture, we have found that we're paying tribute not to a man, but to a legend. And I say this because there are so many dimensions to General Thimayya, and indeed, the more I read and learn about him, there is more to find out. A great soldier, a great general, a great Indian, a great Cottonian, a great human being, and indeed, I must say, various other dimensions to his personalities. Mr. Ranganathan, our speaker, last year described him as a diplomat, considering his role as part of the UN peacekeeping forces. There are others who describe him as a statesman, and indeed Group Captain Chako described him as the darling of the troops. So we are now in year 3 overwhelmed that our tribute series is in fact fully justified and indeed overwhelming. And I think the point that has struck me the most about General Thimayya is not merely that he has been a visionary, a statesman, a great leader, somebody whose role from his days in school right up to the end of his career was unmistakable, but I think somebody who stood out for the moral courage that he possessed. And that moral courage one saw, whether it was dealing with discrimination at Sandhurst and certain amount of discrimination even here at Cottons in the early days from the fairer classmates, and leading up to the end of his career when he showed absolutely no hesitation to tender his resignation at a time when he felt he was morally correct, only for Pandit Nehru to request him to revoke it. And I think that is the core and the essence of the man, and that is the essence for us to imbibe. May I also take this opportunity to say that this is a tribute not merely to General Thimayya. This is also, at a level, a tribute to our forces. We take our liberties and democracy for granted, but I must say that my respectful understanding has been that it is because we have a loyal and a faithful and a responsible army, and indeed the armed forces, that we're able to enjoy these liberties. I think the example that we have with our neighbor, who I'm referring to, is not the case, where you have an army that is ambitious, that usurps civil power, and I think we need to be deeply obliged for the role that the Indian Army plays. I must also hasten to add that with the Army comes the families of the armies. I think any of you who were privileged to be at Shubha Vasant's play yesterday, The Silent Front, will know exactly what I mean. Ultimately, the tribute is also to Bishop Cotton Boys School, the alma mater not only to General Thimayya but other greats like Dr. Raja Ramana, some of whom are here with us, Air Marshal Wallen, Mr. Ranganathan, General Mehmood, and numerous others, and certainly last but not the least, Colonel Lalit Rai. I would urge the present Cottonians to take note of these rich resources that we have, study the lives of our old boys, and perhaps try and emulate them. Let me confess that we are greatly reinforced by your attendance and your participation today. I want to take this opportunity to welcome very cordially the family of General Thimayya, Auntie Mireille, General Chengappa, Belly, Nicole, Colonel Karyappa, Mrs. Karyappa, Colonel and Mrs. Lalit Rai, Principal Colonel John Ellis and Mrs. Ellis. A very special welcome to former principals, wardens and teachers, the present members of the staff, Air Marshal Wallen, Mr. and Mrs. Mutana, distinguished officers from the armed forces, both retired and serving, Mr. C.V. Ranganathan. A special welcome to officers from the Kumaon and the Gorkha Brigade, old Cottonians from 1937 to I think 2003, subject to correction. I think Colonel Baba must belong to the 37 batch, and I find Cottonians at least till 2003. Present Cottonians, a very special welcome to each one of you, friends and well-wishers of the school. I also seek your indulgence to permit me to read to you a few in absentia greetings and regrets that we have received. The Honorable Raksha Mantri, Shri A.K. Anthony Ji, Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, all the three serving chiefs, General Deepak Kapoor, Air Chief Marshal Fali Major, Admiral Suresh Mehta, Admiral Dawson, who may, if we're fortunate, join us later at the fellowship, Old Cottonian Admiral Vijay Shekhawat, Old Cottonian Lieutenant General S.K. Jetli, who as a Sword of Honor winner is in fact part of the IMA celebrations, Lieutenant General Arjun Ray, Lieutenant General Yogendra Bami, Air Marshal Nanda Karyappa, Vice Admiral R.N. Ganesh, Major General R.P.R. Naidu of the Gorkha Brigade, Major General Risal Singh, Old Cottonians, Rear Admiral K.K. Pestonji, Rear Admiral Sanjay Vadgaonkar, Rear Admiral Prem Kumar Nair, both of whom are serving and belong to the 70 and 71 batch. Old Cottonian Air Commodore Tinkle Nair, who was Lalit's classmate, Brigadier C.V. Kanduri, Shahu Chhatrapati Maharaja of Kolhapur, and old boy, Reverend Dr. Kiran Sebastian, and numerous others. I only wanted to mention this extraordinary list of individuals to emphasize that it is the goodwill that General Thimayya enjoyed, and I dare say the goodwill that Cottons enjoys, and certainly the goodwill that Colonel Lalit Rai enjoys, that we were able to receive such warm greetings and overwhelming support, and we are indeed deeply obliged. The format for today's lecture, ladies and gentlemen, is once Colonel Lalit makes his keynote address, we will spare about 20 to 25 minutes for an interactive question and answer session, after which friends who have known or served with or under General Thimayya are most welcome to share their thoughts, and we will indeed continue the interaction at the fellowship dinner at the club. Present Cottonians, of course, will have to wait their turn for such dinners. Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, and I must say that as the commanding officer of the Army Education Corps, Colonel John Ellis knows a great deal not only about soldiering, but indeed about education. And perhaps the motto "On Straight On" gels perfectly with our topic today, Kargil leading from the front. And I can vouch for this, that Colonel John Ellis has indeed been leading from the front in Cottons. And may I kindly request you, sir, to make your introductory comments. Thank you.
I wonder where After such a beautiful and elaborate introduction, I am left. What introduction do I give to such a beautiful evening and practically a full house? Dear Cottonians, past and present, well-wishers of Cotton, and my friends, I deem it a profound privilege to deliver this introductory address to the 3rd Thimayya Memorial Lecture 2007, it being my second. The organization committee has privileged me by honoring me to be associated with the memory of one of the greatest generals the Indian Army has produced, and on whose tales of valor and wisdom we, the younger generation of the officers of the armed forces, have been trained. The honor is magnified today as I say the stage with yet another illustrious alumni of this school and a war hero who represents my time and my period of history, and whose exploits and sacrifices I have personally witnessed, having been part of that sector there. Now, sandwiched between these two great lives, Cotton gives me a new meaning, a new understanding of the enormous responsibility that destiny has placed on my shoulders to polish and sustain and to move on, straight on. As we have gathered today as a community to pay our venerations and take inspirations and motivation from the life of an exemplary Cottonian, Indian and human being, let us examine and redefine our passion and commitment for Cottons and what it means to us. For the benefit of my young students and the younger generation, General Thimayya was not a great soldier reared in the best traditions of loyalty and duty. He was a great leader of men. He has been described as the savior of Kargil in 1948 due to his supreme practical maneuvers, and he has left an indelible imprint on the history of time. Today, to lead us in our appreciation of Cottons, we have another war hero, a Cottonian of another generation whose single-minded devotion to duty and exemplary bravery and inspiration earned him the coveted VrC to fight at formidable heights in the battalion sector in the Kargil War of 1999. It is pertinent to note that spanning 5 decades, the Cottonian flag has flown high at Kargil. To the acts of valor of the late General Thimayya in 1948 and later Colonel Lalit Rai in 1999. And connecting all this has been the undying spirit, called cottons, of which my young Cottonians sitting in the gallery are the proud inheritors. Be proud of this legacy of valor and wisdom. Appreciate its goodness to become better human beings. As a prelude to the keynote address by the speaker leading from the front, I would like to share with you a beautiful psalm of life so that it helps you to pause and think and understand life in all its dimensions. Trust no future, however present. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present, heart within and God overhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime and departing leave behind us footprints on the sand of time. Footprints that perhaps another sailing over life's solemn main, or forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing shall take heart again. To the old Cottonians and well-wishers, your sublime trust and commitment to cottons is inspirational. The small step that you have taken to organize this lecture for our benefit and your support with your presence is a giant leap for cottons to protect and propagate a spirit that is enthralled. Your life and deeds at various levels also sanctify the spirit and helps it to grow. And as you all have gathered here to pay your venerations to your alma mater through this lecture, let me put words into that silent prayer of yours. For the hours that is left us with thee, ere we fare the importunate years, in this shadowy wait, while thy presence dispel our vain hesitation and fears, and we turn as thy sons ever turn in thy strength of the hopes that thy blessings bestow, from the hopes and aspirations that sprang at thy feet, to the thoughts of the past we go. Today, poised as we are on the threshold of a vibrant and emergent India, the emerging challenges are many. But our passion and commitment for this beautiful institution challenges that indomitable spirit in each of us. The school is as good as its teachers, and if cotton occupies a pride of place, it is because of their commitment and their selfless devotion. Their presence this evening, gentlemen, is a testimony to that. They continue to use themselves as bridges and invite their students to cross them. Having helped them cross the bridges, they joyfully collapse, encouraging their students to create bridges of their own. And so life goes on for them, building new bridges of hope and faith. The school continues to be privileged to have such a bunch of talented and committed teachers. In spite of all my inadequacies, they compliment me, they encourage me. Our shared vision for cotton today remains to build it an organization which is organized for learning, for making it a better place where we care and share, to give it a global perspective and face global challenges. Today, towards this, we are striving to make cotton a community where all of us are continually expanding our capacities to create the results that we desire, where new and expansive patterns of thinking are being nurtured, where collective aspirations of the community is set free, where people are continually learning how to learn together. I am sure the address by the keynote speaker, Colonel Lalit Rai, VrC, Kargil, leading from the front, would motivate us to move into higher realms of excellence, for which we would remain grateful to him and the very committed team of Old Boys of Cotton, comprising of the inestimable Mr. Aditya Soni, 1993 batch, Mr. Rohan Narayan Murthy of the 2001 batch, Mr. C.N. Kumar of the 1971 batch, Mr. Kiran Lakhani, 1974 batch, Mr. Jairaj Daniel, 1976 batch, Mr. Rajiv of 1987 batch, and Mr. Lokesh Ahuja, 1993 batch, whose efforts this evening we deeply appreciate. Thank you. Next extortion. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Ellis, for your warm and inspiring introductory comments. As old boys, it's music to our ears. And as always, we offer our unconditional support and warmest wishes to our alma mater. And I think Colonel Ellis very rightly mentioned a sweet, ironic sort of similarity when he said that the flag has flown high, the cotton's flag at Kargil for 50 years. And that is indeed true, because it was General Thimayya who maneuvered one of the most unprecedented acts of military history by driving Stuart Light tanks up to Zojila. And I think the moment the Pakistani troops saw those tanks at those heights, the battle was more than half won. And I think 50 years later, 1999, the role of Colonel Lalit Rai, who was drawn out of Rashtra Rifles into those heights, and with his boys displaying unprecedented and indeed extraordinary valor, is really very, very heartwarming. Before I request a friend to introduce Colonel Lalit Rai, I want to take this opportunity to very personally confess and share with you the fact that this event that we are holding today and this General Thimayya lecture series, in a very, very tangible way, has got to do with Colonel Lalit Rai. I don't know if he remembers when we met him in 2001, when he addressed us at the AGM. And that was a time, I think, when we were all starved for heroes. Our notion of heroism and success was limited perhaps to cricket or to theatre or movie stars and that sort of thing. And we were very happily unaware of this vast spectrum of public life, including the armed forces. Then Colonel Lalit came and spoke to us. It completely blew, I think most of us who were fortunate enough to be there, blew us away. I confess to Colonel Lalit that I felt extremely humble and extremely proud. I felt extremely humble because I realized exactly how inadequate my life was. But I felt extremely proud that I knew him, and I knew him as an old boy. And thank you, Colonel Lalit, for giving us this opportunity to unearth this new dimension of old boys in public life. And I would once again urge the present Cottonians to very closely study their lives. I'm delighted to ask a friend with whom I don't always agree, but whose views I greatly admire, a classmate of Colonel Lalit Rai from Cotton, 71 batch, a mate from Pope House and also from the NCC, Suchendranath Iyer, could I request you to please introduce Colonel Lalit Rai.
Thank you. Ladies, gentlemen, Catonians all. My classmate Lalit Rai, also known as Chamling or Prince to his mother and to some of us, represents two great traditions. The first is the indomitable Gorkha, Ayo Gorkhali. His father retired from the same regiment from which he retired, the 11th Gorkha Rifles. The second, of course, is the great Catonian tradition. Muster on the side of right, march like warriors to the fight, mark the foe, and strike with might, nec dextrorsum, nec sinistrorsum. Lalit has lived the school song faithfully, fully, and literally. The child is the father of the man. I would like to dwell a little on the classmate I knew at school. Chamling was a natural sportsman. He shone on the football field as well as the athletic field. And he was an enthusiast of the 47th Troop, 14 Mysore Battalion, National Cadet Corps. But what were the traits of this child who later became the man? I remember Lalit Rai to be unassumingly simple, straightforward, honest, modest, unaffectedly modest, in spite of being a star. He was a reliable friend. You could always rely on him. I remember cycling with him to Mysore Lancers, the Lancer lines in those days, the good old days when we were getting ready with our kit and so on for camp. You could always rely on him as a reliable friend. And these are the traits then that imbued him with the dignity of a gentleman even in those tender years. And now, I'm delighted to give you my classmate and good friend, Colonel Lalit Rai, Veer Chakra, 1st Battalion, the 11th Gorkha Rifles, Indian Army, retired. A fellow Catonian.
Till the computer gets warmed up. Good evening, the past and the present Catonians, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege to be here, and I dare say it's a singular honor for me to be addressing such an august audience. When my friend Suchendranath walked up the stage and talked about me, I was sent back in time, and I remembered my days. Whenever we had to settle scores, we called the people behind the chapel. But I believe there is no space left there now. We were just 750 students in school, and today I learned that there are 6,000 people. It's good to grow in numbers, but I'm sure we will not dilute despite the growing numbers. Such illustrious names, such illustrious Catonians, and now I see in front of me a wide sea of the green and gold, from amongst whom I'm sure we are going to get the future leaders and the future generals of a nation. I think it was the Duke of Wellington who said that the future wars of Europe are going to be fought in the lawns of Eton or Harvard. And I dare say, if it was a Cottonian in 1957 who was the chief, and in 47, the one who introduced the Stuart tanks to the Georgilla Heights, surprised the enemy, turned the tide and pushed them back. And if it was in 99 that a humble soldier again did his best with his troops and contributed towards the army's efforts, I don't see any reason why we cannot have future leaders from our present students. Well, gentlemen, it's been 8 years now since Kargil has happened, and despite these 8 years that have gone by, we have such a huge audience in front of me. I would say this augurs well, not only for the school and the future generation, but for the whole nation. Because a nation and its people who forget their soldiers soon cease to exist, like all the great empires. What we did in Kargil was but our humble way of doing our duty. And before I start and launch on to what happened there, a small story, a small part of the huge battle that we fought there, I have a message for the new generation of Cottonians. I have just 3 things to tell you. Dare to dream. That's number 1. Have the confidence. Never doubt your capabilities. And thirdly, go for it. Do it. Don't vacillate. With these 3 messages, I now come down to the main topic for the evening, for which you have been waiting for. I ordered people in war, but the computer is a very different matter altogether. Right, gentlemen, we fought 4 wars with Pakistan. 1947, 65, 71, and the last one was 1999. And every time we fought with him, we sent him back with a bleeding nose. However, towards the end, I'll tell you how fascinating the propaganda is. They still felt they had won the wars. It was only after Operation Vijay, where the media played a very major role, did they come to know that they had actually got a spanking and they were sent back. Before I come down to the actual battle, I feel that we should know a little bit about our history and a little bit of geography of that particular area so that you understand as to what exactly I'm talking about. The figure that you see here with the black outline is the line drawn by Sir Ratcliffe. This line which you see over here is the line of control, and the area which is bounded between this and the black line is what is now known as the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, forms 35% of the entire area. NJ 9842 is what is known as the Siachen Glacier. This AGPL is the actual ground position line. You'll be proud to know that in the Indian Army in 1984, or rather 83, launched an Operation Meghdoot and occupied this Siachen Glacier because Pakistan was trying their best to sponsor a lot of expeditions to that place and claim the rights to Siachen Glacier. The Indian Army got wise to this, occupied this, and when they attacked it in 1984, we were more than prepared for them and we sent them back. Therefore, as per the old agreement, the line was supposed to go thence northwards from 9842, but today I am happy to tell you it goes slightly westwards and then northwards. This area with the red line over here and the LAC written here is the line of actual control. And the area between this red line and this black line is the area which has been occupied by China and is known as Aksai Chin, and it constitutes 8% of the total area. A word about Aksai Chin and its importance. When China occupied Tibet, the only route for him to administer Tibet was through this area of Aksai Chin. Because if he had to go all around this place, then the Tibetan plateau and the high Himalayan mountains over here would have meant an almost impossible task for them to make a road to administer Tibet from the Xinjiang sector, district. So therefore, they have made a beautiful highway over here, right joining the Xinjiang district onto Tibet. And since we have a China expert here, we'll talk about that later, it is up to us now to think whether China is going to leave this place, Aksai Chin. It's so important to him. Some of you would feel, why this LC here, LAC here, why can't they make up the mind and why have two terminologies? This is basically against China and this is against Pakistan. When we talk about Jammu and Kashmir, the general idea is that all the people there are Muslims. But demographically, there are three distinct groups residing in this area, which you must know. Firstly, in the general area between this great Himalayan range over here is the Ladakh region, predominantly peace-loving Buddhists. Fifth, then the area between the Himalayan range and the huge Pir Panjal range, the mighty Pir Panjal range, is a very rich and a fertile valley which is known as the Srinagar Valley, the valley region of Jammu and Kashmir, predominantly occupied by Muslims. And the area south of the Pir Panjal over here are the plains of Jammu, predominantly Hindus, the Dogras who occupy this. Therefore, you have an idea about the distinct demographies of this place. Interestingly, this complete area of Jammu and Kashmir was administered by the Pakistan and erstwhile India from the west, from the general area of Rawalpindi and Gujranwala side. Therefore, in 1947, when the raiders came in attacking India and General Thimayya had brought in the tanks at Jojila over here, there were no roads existing which connected Jammu plains onto the mountains in the valley of Srinagar and Kashmir. It was only in 1950 that a road was made which joined the areas of Pathankot, Jammu onto the valley and beyond to Kargil and to Leh Ladakh. So this in short is the geography of Jammu and Kashmir. Secondly, the road. Now this road which joins Jammu, Udhampur, Srinagar, Jojila Pass, Kargil and onto Leh is truly the lifeline of this area. This is the lifeline because you will come to know the complete crux of the problem which is existing between India and Pakistan and the operations thereon are basically based on the road joining Jammu, Udhampur, Srinagar, Jojila Pass, Leh. Here, Jojila Pass, the place where General Thimayya had sent the Stuart tanks, I'll show you that pass and you will be amazed, and then you will probably appreciate the Herculean task that he had undertaken even as early as 1947. This road remains closed about 3 to 4 months a year because of heavy snow. The bottleneck is Jojila Pass at an altitude of approximately 8,000 feet above sea level, and because of heavy snow it's closed. Some of you might wonder, why don't they have those snowmobile, the snow dozers to clear it off? But when you see Zojila Pass in the next slide, you'll probably understand better. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Zojila Pass. You can see the trucks, they're all facing upwards. It's not because the discipline of the people over there are good. It's just that the road is so narrow that we have certain up convoy days and certain down convoy days. And this is probably the up convoy day where trucks laden with fuels and supplies are packed and sent up to supply the complete area of Jammu and Kashmir. Then we have an alternate road, which is the road Pathankot, Kullu, Manali, Ratong Pass, Karu, and on to Leh. This is the alternate road. But the mountains of this general area are very young. They are not yet stabilized. Therefore, there are a lot of landslides all around beyond Manali and Ratong Pass and on to Karu. Therefore, this road at best at the moment can be used as a supplementary road in addition to this road, which is the lifeline, but it cannot be a main axis to be used. Now, besides this, we also have the air. The flight takes off from Delhi onto Jammu, Srinagar, and onto Leh. The Leh airport itself is located at an altitude of 11,000 feet above sea level. Therefore, even the tourists who go there, because of hypoxia, that's the lack of oxygen in the air, they feel sick and they are overcome with nausea. And this airstrip, not even an airport, an airstrip being at an altitude of 11,000 feet, the aircraft can function only at a capacity of about 60% of its total capacity. So at best, it can only fly in those critical supplies or critical medical supplies and fly out or critically ill people. It cannot be used tactically or strategically to bring in your much needed supplies to that area. So these are some of those aspects which require little attention. Jammu, Srinagar, and on to Leh. Now let's come down to the question of why did Kargil happen. There are a lot of versions to it, there are a lot of reasons to it. But the most interesting one, it was in 1965 when Operation Gibraltar was planned by the Pakistan Army. Under Operation Gibraltar, they trained 30,000 people in Pakistan. The plan was very simple. It was to coincide on for 8th of August, when it was the Pir Dastagir's birthday, when they had those huge jathas, processions passing there. These 30,000 trained people with their armed caches already inside India would infiltrate into India in small groups of 30s, 40s, 50s. And once inside India, they would again regroup into cohesive and very, very formidable groups of hundreds, take out their arms and ammunition, use the day of 8th of August, Pir Dastagir's birthday, for the processions, etc., and then attack installations, ammunition dumps, carry out assassinations, and create mayhem behind our lines. And when the army would be sufficiently busy looking after these people or trying to take counteraction, that is the time they would coordinate with a beautiful surgical move with a whole armored div and sever the head of Jammu and Kashmir. But they miscalculated. They thought the Muslim brothers in Kargil would help them. But just the opposite happened. Instead of helping them, they actually came and informed the Indian army, and before they could actually create chaos, we were already absolutely alert, and most of the groups, they were destroyed, total attrition was caused, and some of them survived and went back into Pakistan. And one such group, led by about led by a second lieutenant, 30-40 of them, also just managed to save his life, and he went back into Pakistan swearing vengeance. Now this same lieutenant grew in ranks, and somewhere in 1987, he was given the task of capturing Siachen Glacier, that NJ 9842, because it was a matter of prestige for them. He was to operate from a post called the Qaid-e-Azam post. He had become a colonel, and he was commanding the SSG troops. There's the Special Action Group, Special Services Group, equivalent to our commandos. This colonel was a very brave man. He remembered the beating he had taken in '65, and with all might, he tried his best to attack our post. The Indian Army was again alert, and the regiment which defended stoutly over there was the regiment of General Thimayya, the Kumaon regiment, one of the battalions of the Kumaon regiment, and they pushed back the attack. They not only pushed back the attack, but they also counter-attacked and captured the Qaid-e-Azam post. And again this colonel went back with most of his troops lost. And it was this colonel who later on grew in ranks, who planned this operation, who became also the president, General Pervez Musharraf. Because in '71, the biggest humiliation that the Pakistan Army got was the surrendering of 93,000 fully armed prisoners of war that we got in Bangladesh. That was a humiliating blow from them. And with all this fresh in mind, with all vengeance, and it is his plan. Though the plan was already made much earlier, but it was his doing where he pushed this plan forward and Kargil happened. I am often asked, Colonel, when you fought this war, you must have fought against heavy odds. It's a very relative word, heavy odds. What does heavy odds mean? I will explain what the heavy odds we faced. I feel that we did not face one enemy, we faced three enemies when we went into Kargil. The first enemy was the high altitude. We operated in altitudes of 18,000 feet above sea level. And at 18,000 feet above sea level, the temperatures are around minus 29 to minus 32 degrees Celsius. And some of us old Cottonians who were used to that old aluminium trays in our freezers, whenever we wanted to have a drink, we used to pull out those aluminium freezers. I'm sure we remember how our finger used to get stuck when we pulled out those aluminium trays, ice trays. And in altitudes like this, by chance, in an emergency, when you grabbed your rifle, your hand got stuck to that rifle. And it took a lot of effort with a knife and warm water to get your hands out of that. And at minus 32 degrees Celsius, there are a lot of other medical problems that go with it. I told you about hypoxia, the lack of oxygen in the air. That itself, with the biological and the chemical, biochemical reactions in your body, produces a lot of diseases like pulmonary edema, in which your body fluid, instead of you perspiring it out or throwing it out the natural way, it starts getting collected into your lungs. And then soon, before you realize it, you're actually drowning in your own fluid, you're frothing pink in your mouth, and you're dead within 15 to 20 minutes. In the initial stages, in the army, we used to try and evacuate them by calling the helicopters. Biggest mistake, because the helicopters took them, and when it took off, what happened? It gained altitude, and instead of saving him, he actually died. These days we have a decompressant bag by which the pressure is dropped immediately, and it simulates the effect where you drop altitude by almost 2,000 feet and you save lives. Then we have the cerebral edema, where the fluid gets collected now into your brains. And then a person goes crazy. He does all sorts of stupid things and it could end into a fatality. We had cases like that. Then you have your other associated medical problems like your trench foot, chilblains, where your complete skin and your digits, they get frozen and the cells go die. You get your frostbite, which my boys told me, those people who got frostbite, they said, "Sir, this is the worst affliction." Says, even the enemy should not get this. It's so painful. You get gangrene and you see your digits falling off. Young sentries who are not used to this high altitude and this extreme cold would be standing sentries outside, and next morning they used to be found frozen dead. Because I'll tell you, I'll share this with you. When you're outside and it's very, very cold, and when you're suffering from hypothermia, suddenly you get a feeling of a nice warm feeling through your abdomen over here. And an inexperienced soldier will at that time sit down. And that is his death knell. Experienced soldier will become alert immediately and he'll start getting active. Because he knows now the end is near. So these are some of the medical problems which are faced over there on top. Now the extreme cold also had some very funny moments. When we go and camp there at 18,000 feet, we are not on terra firma. We are not on soil which you see outside. We are actually staying on a solid glacier. And once, due to those seismic movements, when these plates crack over there, the glaciers crack, it's like an atomic blast. I mean, your whole heart starts shaking. And in that extreme cold, even doing your normal chores in the morning used to be a very, very difficult task. You know, we have the great Indian habit of, you know, in the older times, they used to, at around 5:30, take their lota and go onto the field. Similarly, the areas in high altitude is just like another jungle, white jungle over there. But we used to be pained. We used to think, how do I do it tomorrow? Because you got to expose some skin in that cold. Can you imagine the problem? So we used to plan our activities, have two patilas, one boiling water, the other one boiling tea. And you keep on having tea. And once the pressure inside your stomach and the pressure over here is matching, you quickly fill the bottle with boiling water and you run for it. And sometimes, of course, you feel a little more comfortable and you take a little more time. And that is the time disaster struck. Because when it came for the time to wash, it was solid. I'm only sharing this with you. It's a laughing matter now, but for us it was terrible. And in the initial stages, when we all went to Siachen Glacier, when the army went to Siachen Glacier, we had a unique problem, very, very unique problem. We had the small tents and we slept there. And at night, because of very, 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 very solid winds which are prevailing in that area, it was very windy, what used to happen was something called a pillaring effect. You know, the place where the tent is, it used to be maintained over there, and all the area and the ice around your tent, that used to melt. So next morning, you suddenly found yourself like that sleeping beauty on top of the tent on a pillar over there in a pedestal. And everything else has gone down, the level has gone down. And of course, because you have been running just 15 to 20 yards all around doing your job, you have those lovely yellow minarets all around you, well preserved. So these days, we have those, we have the incinerators to destroy because it becomes, I mean, it doesn't degrade over there. It's so fresh. So I'm sure you wouldn't like to be in a situation like that. Well, besides this, like I told you, when the plate shifts, there are cracks in the ice, and then the crack over there is either known as a crevice in case the gap is small, or a crevasse in case the gap is very large. If it's a crevasse, there's no problem, you can see it a mile off, and you can avoid it. But if it's a crevice, then the crack is small. And because it's a jagged sort of a crack, and it's deep, almost a few kilometers deep. So when the soft snow falls on it, it covers the complete surface. And when the wind blows over that, the surface becomes hard. So with the result, the first 1 or 2 people who walk across, they go through safe. And the third fellow is suddenly swallowed inside. So we have those ropes to tie each other so that we can help each other. And people, while walking in a rope, the third person falls down. We try our best to save him. But after 5-6 minutes, if you can't pull him out, you cannot expose the others to danger. He may be your comrade, he may be your friend. We just tie a python over there, tie it up over there, leave it, and cut the rope. Because what is the temperature inside that crevice? Minus 75 degrees Celsius. These are the realities of life there. Your physical capabilities are reduced by more than 60%. A fully grown man can barely carry about 5 to 6 kgs on his back. When you walk, you start wheezing and panting like an old man. When you breathe, your complete windpipe starts burning because of lack of oxygen. And you double over, pant, breathe hard, then take 2-3 steps again. And whenever we have rash young men who are trying to rush around and do things over there, they are the ones who become susceptible to pulmonary edema because they move around fast. Therefore, we have those huge captions and the boards put all around the battalion saying, don't try to be a Gama in the land of Lama. To save their lives. Then the second enemy we faced was the terrain. Steep, absolutely steep gradients, 80 degrees. As it is, survival and just walking a few steps is so difficult. Now to compound that problem, there are huge slopes like that. You got to climb that. You got to have your weapon, because that's your life. And you got to have ammunition, because you got to use a weapon. And you got to have ammunition for yourself and fuel for yourself, food. Otherwise you cannot survive. You have to have warm clothing, otherwise you will freeze. So you can imagine the load that one has to carry and go up all these slopes. Extremely difficult. Then we had the third enemy, which was the enemy himself. Well entrenched, well equipped, well trained, well ensconced. Because the surprise was with him. He was the one who was the person who had planned it out. So they had planned it properly and they were well entrenched in that place. So imagine with this cold, with that load, with this gradient, you're climbing up and he's firing at you. I would say he didn't even have used his bullets. He had to just throw stones. It would have come down whistling like missiles. That is the type of odds that I talk about. These are the odds that the brave men who fought in the cool climes of Kargil faced. Now this is a site of the Batalic sector. I basically wanted to show you this picture so that you understand the complete layout of the mountain over here and the type of operations that my battalion, the 1st 11 Gurkha Rifles, fought. Now this line that you see running across here, there are no mauve or purple lines running on the ground over there. Neither is there a friendly Pathan telling you, Bhai Sahab, line yahan se jata hai. It is just an imaginary line connecting the ridge lines or the highest points of the mountains over there, and therefore the watershed of that area. And all of you know that watersheds are the origins of the mighty rivers that flow, like the Ganga, the Indus, the Brahmaputra. It starts with a small trickle and a few drops which have melted from the glacier, comes into a stream, a mountain stream, a roaring stream, a river, and then a mighty river. And the area which is beyond this is the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The area which is around here is the area which we have got, the 57% of Jammu and Kashmir. And this are the spurs or the fingers which are coming out from the watershed. You must know that the Indian Army occupies all these heights. But come winter, when the snow becomes too much, 25 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, and the temperatures dip down as low as minus 30 and minus 40 degrees Celsius, and with the wind chill factor, it comes down further to minus 40 and minus 50 degrees Celsius, it becomes almost impossible to stay in a place like this. Siachen Glacier, which is just a 5-kilometer front, takes as much as 5.5 to 6 crores a day for maintenance, for maintaining a small body of troops over there. This is 1,300 kilometers. You can imagine the cost in terms of money, the cost in terms of lives, if you have to occupy these physically. Therefore, in the months of winter, when it becomes extremely difficult, the Indian Army comes down into warmer areas below. This line has been respected both by India and Pakistan. And we do not meddle with it during winter. But this time, they had a different design. Since the last 3 years, they have been reconnoitering the complete area here as and when we go down. They wanted to occupy all these areas for a reason which I shall show you and explain to you with a diagram a little later. Now this is the same depiction of the same mountains which you saw just now. This is the bird's eye view and this is a sketch. Now this black line is the line of control which I showed you with that mauve colored line. And this was the arm which was coming down, which is the Khalubar ridge line. This was the Kukarthang ridge line and this was the Jubar ridge line. This red is the road which is the National Highway 1 Alpha. And this is the mighty Indus River which flows next to it. Now what is the significance of these mountains? If I were to occupy Khalubar ridgeline right up to here and Kukarthang and Jubar right up to here, with my automatic weapons, my artillery and my observation posts, I can cut off these roads over here. And when I cut off the road, what happens? The supply dries off on top. And we sever the head of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, what was the Pakistani aim behind this operation, which they named as Operation Al-Badr in 1999? First was to realign the line of control. Just like I showed you, if they come and sit during the winters, right till the edge over here during winters, and before we can muster and the next summer we come over there, they keep firing at us. And then because of the nuclear threat and them possessing nuclear weapons and the nuclear warfare in this area, world opinion would come and they say, okay, maintain it like this. Let the ceasefire line be there. And once they realign the LOC over here, what happens? We cannot use this road. Lifeline is severed. Master plan. So the first aim was to realign the line of control, because it is their word against ours once they occupy it. Next aim was to isolate Siachen Glacier. They have tried their best to take Siachen Glacier so many times, and every time we have sent them packing back. So this was a nice way without firing a shot. Just cut the supplies off, dry us off, no ammunition, no supplies, we have to vacate that place. Encourage insurgency in Ladakh. Very peace-loving people. But like they say, if there is no food in the belly, there is fire in the belly. When the supplies get cut, people go hungry, people go cold during winters because of lack of supply of fuel. Direct the ire towards the Indian government. And then these peace-loving people start insurgency amongst them. Boost the psychic morale of militants in J&K. I remember in 96, 97 when I was operating with a battalion over there, the morale of the militants had really come down, because the grid that was created by the Indian Army in this complete area was so well coordinated that he would run from here, he would get trapped here. He would run from there, he would get trapped here, because the Indian Army was there in full force. And to make matters worse for the militants, what happened in 97 or 98? Our Prime Minister, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, that Lahore bus yatra, he went to Lahore. And all along the TVs it was shown. Indian flag and Pakistani flag flying high over there. Banquets over there arranged. Biryani is being served. Both of them embracing each other. The militants thought we are being hunted like dogs over here. And the Prime Minister is being given biryani over there. This was the actual feeling of these people. Therefore, by doing a Kargil, Pervez Musharraf wanted to send a silent message to them. Okay, look, this is the real one. That was just for show. Focus international attention on Kashmir issue. You must have seen in the TVs, somewhere in the 97, 98s, you always saw one guy with a Kashmiri cap, animatedly, raising his hands, shouting it out over there in the UN Assembly and other people. And you saw rest of the people almost sleeping and dozing it off, someone doodling on the pad, others talking like this. No one paid attention to the Kashmir issue. It was a dead issue. And by doing a Kargil now, they raised the issue again. They revived the issue. To that extent, they were little successful. Now the Pakistani plan, if this was their aim, then what was their plan? How did they mean to achieve this? This was the intrusion plan. This was the Khalubar area. They wanted to infiltrate in big groups in 3 areas. In the winters of 99, when the Indian army would withdraw down to the warm places, Pakistani forces would come and occupy in 3 major places. Khalubar, that is Batalic sector, Tololing and Tiger Hill sector, and one in the Moscow Valley, which is further to the west. By doing that, they would cut off the roads, the national highway, and deny supplies going up. Now this is the victory run of the first. The first is the first 11 Gurkha Rifles, the battalion. This is the same Khalubar, but depicted with an artist with all the peaks visible over here. I was sharing this that whenever we show pictures of mountains, most of my friends who are not in the army, they say all these mountains look the same. I said I quite agree, because I remember when I was a young boy, I had a Sardarji friend, and every time I went, initially when I used to go to his house, any Sardarji used to come, I used to stand up and say, "Good morning, uncle." He used to slap me and say, "That's not my uncle, that's my servant." So, I somehow could never figure out all Sardarjis look the same to me. I don't know, till this day, I find it difficult, because the amount of thing exposed is very less. So after that, to solve this problem, what I did was, I stopped wishing. And lo and behold, after 15 days, a complaint came from his father. "Bada badtameez dost hai, wish nahi karta hai." And then I said, "Yeah, please, I'm so sorry, all Sardarjis look the same." He got very angry, he just kept quiet and moved away. After 2 days, he called me again. "Come here. You said Sardarjis all look the same?" I said, "Yes." "You Chinkis also look the same." I just wanted to share this with you because all mountains look the same to you, but for us it's a matter of life and death. Every fold we have to understand, we have to use it tactically, otherwise it could mean the death for us. So therefore, this is the same mountain which I showed you of Khalubar ridgeline. You could see that finger-like projection which came out from there. This is the Khalubar ridgeline, this is the Kukarthang ridgeline, and this is a Graglio Nala which flows in between them. Now in 1999, we left this place and we came down to Yaldor sector, which is down below over here. And by that time, the Pakistanis came and occupied this complete area. Normally, the winters start somewhere end October and last up to almost June, maybe mid to end June. But this time, Providence, God was with us. The snow started melting, thawing somewhere in the first week of May itself, which meant that the Pakis did not get adequate time to make the defenses. So as soon as the thaw started happening, our patrols went to search all these areas. Small patrols go in advance and search the areas and then give a report back, all fine, and then the rest of the body of the troops move in. So when the patrols went in over here, various places, like sort of Kargil on 5th of May, that disappeared. Then another patrol which was sent over here on 8th of May, he made his patrol base here to leave all his heavy baggage and then moved with about 15 boys ahead to search this area. Because every area is searched. Every day a certain amount of area is searched, and then he comes back, the rest over there. Again next day he goes, he searches this area, they shift the patrol base further, then he searches that area, searches this area. It's a routine, it's a procedure. When this search was going on, for the first one day or so, the Pakis had all occupied this complete area over here and here. They were watching him, but they did not fire a shot because they needed that time to make the defenses. Second day, when he proceeded further here, and he took 15 boys ahead with him to patrol the areas further here, he suddenly realized that the radio operator had forgotten to get his batteries, extra batteries. Each battery weighs almost 1.5 to 2 kgs. So normally to avoid that weight, people leave the batteries behind and they go with one. But in high altitude, the batteries don't work for long. And to be out of communication is a crime. So this young captain stopped here for a while and sent this boy back. Just barely 1 kilometer. One would laugh at it. But in a mountain like this, suddenly there was a snow blizzard. And when a blizzard storm blows, you can't see anything. Your compasses go haywire. You can't see your hand in front of you because it's a total whiteout. And these boys, they stumbled on towards the right over here. When they stumbled on, bang onto the enemy position, the enemy had no choice but to fire at them and kill them. When the shots rang out and the storm went down, these people rushed to this place. Again, more people killed. That captain himself was injured and he was pinned down over here. Remainder of the people over here, they also rushed to help. Again, few killed, the rest pinned down. And that is the time when my battalion, the first 11 Gurkha Rifles, was called to rescue and extricate these people. Till now, the impression in the army headquarters and in Delhi was that there are a couple of infiltrators, a couple of militants who are holed up in this area. Remove them. Hold them by the scruff of the neck and remove them. My battalion, which was already on its way down from Siachen Glacier on to Pune on a peace tenure, was redirected. They said you go via Kargil. And a company was sent here to extricate these people. When the company went to extricate the people, we managed to get them back. We sent the bodies back. We got this young captain also back. But the intensity of fire that came on us really made us look up. Said this cannot be the fire or the firepower of a militant. It has to be a trained soldier firing at us like this. Because we know how the fire comes at us. We know whether it's a trained man firing at you or it is some militant, stray militant firing at you. And the report was sent back. We were asked to probe all these areas around this place and say consolidate that area. We tried that. For 2 months we tried to consolidate that complete area here, but we got no chance going further than this year, no chance going further than this year. The whole thing was so well occupied and very strong positions were already made there. And in those 2 months, which were nightmarish, we were pounded by artillery fire day in and day out. And only after continued reports did it finally dawn in Delhi that yes, truly the Pakistan soldiers are there, and we declared war. And then we were given the orders to go whole hog. I remember distinctly, one day when I was sitting down here in Yaldor sector, the shelling came. One shell landed just about 15 to 20 yards away from me. There were about 3 or 4 of my boys sitting down together, and this shell came bang right in between them, and all of them were blown to smithereens. It took me 2 days to collect the chunks of flesh together. We didn't know who had gone. After having faced this, we finally came to a conclusion that we've got to do something. And then we had one of our battle meetings in the divisional headquarters where everybody agreed that in this complete area of Batalik, if there is one place which is very, very important, the capture of which would render it very advantageous for us, they said it would be this area of Khalubar top here. Now some of us might ask, why Khalubar top? In mountains, you cannot move around left, right, anywhere like this. Here there is a traffic jam, you take another route. If there is a traffic jam there, you can even leave the car and walk. But there you can't do it. There are limited tracks. You have to stick to those tracks. And if you go off the tracks and you walk against the grain of the mountains over there, it's inviting death. You cannot survive for more than 1 or 2 days. So therefore, you are restricted to the tracks. Therefore, Khalubar was the place which was the communication hub as far as this was concerned. And if we captured Khalubar top, we not only stopped the supply route over here, we also cut off the retreat route from here. And we turned the defenses of the enemy. Because if I'm standing behind here, you throw missiles at me or stones at me, I can hide behind this. But you send a few people over here on my side, I become vulnerable on the side. I have to leave this place. So that is the analogy, that was the plan which was there. But everybody knew that this is what is important and this is what has to be done. But again, the proverbial question of who will bail the cat. And that is the time, as the commanding officer, I volunteered and I said, sir, the Gurkha Rifles, we will capture this Khalubar top. And I came back to the battalion headquarters and I shared this with all my boys. The moment they heard me the first time, they said, I have volunteered to capture this place. Because we were not even making an advance of an inch or a foot over here or here. We came under so much fire. And here we are talking about going behind lines over there and capturing Khalubar top, either from here or from here. Pathans are not exactly going to welcome you. Aye Janab. So when my boys heard this, their jaws fell down. They thought, one of them confessed later on, they thought that I had got cerebral edema. One of my officers, later during one of our social functions, he said, sir, I want to share a thing with you, thought with you. I said, yes, tell me. He says, sir, when you talked about capturing this Khalubar top, you know, suddenly my complete head, I went into an absolute delirium or into some other state where I started seeing visions. And what did you see? He said it was just like one of those Hindi movies. It was a big white bungalow. Everything was white. People were wearing white. They were whispering silently and coming out of that house. So I also walked into the room. It was a white room. People were quiet and they were saying good chap and they were just whispering slightly. And there on the wall was a big portrait. There was a sandalwood ka mala there, a lot of agarbattis burning. And sir, your photo was there. I'm telling you this just to tell you what is the type of reaction one gets when you are faced with an impossible task. And this is a lesson for the young boys. There is no such thing as impossible. You have to just dare it. At that point of time, I must confess, I did not know how I would do it. I did not even know whether I was capable of doing it. But I knew one thing, that I had to do it. And I said, and I explained to my boys, look, we have only two options. Either you wait here and die, an anonymous death. No one will even come to know. Or you take a chance. There's a good chance you might die. But what a way to go. And if you try, there is a chance of success. If you sit here, there is no chance of success come whatever may. When I explained it in these words, all my boys, and I told them, look, all the officers, including me, we will be leading from the front. There's no question of just ordering you chaps ahead. And in the Indian Army, we have a very fine tradition. I don't know how many of my young boys know this. Whenever you're marching forward and you come across a minefield, the enemy minefield, you know what's a mine? The small thing which you put under the ground, you cannot see, you cannot detect because they make it out of plastic over there. And you step on it and your leg goes. The whole stump goes from here. Most painful. And when someone hits the mine, in the tradition, true tradition of the Indian Army, as soon as you hit the mine, we again make it into a rod formation. There is a single file. And do you know who heads that file? The officer there. These are the fine traditions of an Indian Army. The officer is the first man then, come what may. So I said, in this battle, I as the commanding officer and my officers will be leading right from the front. If I see anybody hesitating and not moving towards the objective, I'll be the first man to shoot him. And if you see me hesitating, not moving towards the direction, you have the full rights to shoot me. Just by saying this much, the boys were absolutely charged up. They said, sir, we'll do it. Let's do it. Then we planned. 14 hours walk from here to there. 14 hours. And in these 14 hours, I get just about 4 or 5 hours of darkness. When do I want the darkness? Do I want it when I start? So that I maintain the surprise? Or do I start during the daytime and get it here during the dark over here? When I come there next to the objective? And both have got their pluses and minuses. So good military judgment. I said, look, let them know I'm coming. Doesn't matter. I'll make sure that I pound them over here with whatever little artillery we have got and my own mortars. And then I move here. But when I'm closest to him and all his small arms weapons are bearing on me, that is the time I want the darkness, because I don't want him to fire aimed shots at me. Secondly, this looks so small over here, but this is more than 14 or 15 kilometers. It's huge. That's why I tell people, if you ever want to be humbled, please go, stand next to a mountain. You see the strength and the might of nature. And then you will know what a insignificant, small spot you are. As far as, when you compare yourself against nature. It's a huge area. I said, I will go here. But once I come here, he doesn't know whether I'm going to hit him at 4812, bunker, Khalubar top, or .5278. That is my surprise. And we started in earnest. We kept moving here. Fire started coming on us, initially over the heads. Later on, one scraped my boot, and then we started running. In high altitude, with that load, I didn't know that people were capable of running. But when it comes to life, my dear friends, Asafa Powell would have been left behind. We were zigzagging from rock to rock to rock to rock. And in one such moment, remember, the commanding officer is the oldest guy in the whole battalion. I was running out of breath, and I told my radio operator and the other chap, I said, look for a little biggish boulder so I can take at least about 40 seconds or maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes of rest before we start again sprinting. He said, "Theek hai sir." We looked ahead, we saw a big boulder. As he pointed to me. It was getting, slightly evening, twilight. I ran for it. I was about to sit down when I saw a huge cacti plant like that with those bristles, spiky things coming. I tried my best, but I didn't have the guts, so I had to leave that regretfully, and I went and occupied another small stone. I was breathing hard. And suddenly from behind I could hear some heavy breathing, real heavy breathing. And I saw one bulky gentleman almost running past me. I saw he was one of our majors who had just come from a posting from Delhi. He was little on the plus side, breathing very heavy, eyes totally focused onto the same boulder which I couldn't occupy. I told him, his name was Chris. I said, Chris. But Chris was no go. He was only for that boulder. He ran for it. He saw that cacti plant over there with those spiny spindles over there, and he sat down. We asked him later, how didn't it pain? He said, sir, it was painful, there's no doubt about it, but it was very comfortable. And because of his perforations on his behind, we started referring to him as Holy Christ from that day onwards. Now, we had reached the bottom or the base of Khalubar top and we started moving up. When we moved up, somewhere around 600 yards short of the objective, the firing was too intense. The people left and right were getting ripped by bullets. And it's not an easy sight for a commanding officer when there's total mayhem. His own boys getting ripped apart in front of him, the bullets, the rocket launchers doing the damage. It was a very, very sad day for me. Every time a boy would be hit, I would kneel down, sit down, talk to him for a few seconds. I say, Beta, I cannot leave anyone behind for you because I can't reduce my bayonet strength. I have to move up. I hope you'll understand. He should say, Saab, it's paining a lot. It's very, very painful. And I'm bleeding. Just tie it up. Give me some water. Give me my rifle. Up, upar jaake. But please come down quickly, Saab. Please send us down quickly for treatment. I said, son, don't worry. I'll do my best. And I would ask my boys to drag them next to the stones, show them where the enemy fire was coming from, leave a bottle of water over there, and move ahead. One such boy who was hiccuping very, very vigorously when I held him by on my lap and I was talking to him, he couldn't understand what I was saying. I couldn't see any bullet wound, but he died in my laps. And when I put him down like this, my hands were feeling wet. And suddenly I realized that his brains were seeping through my fingers. He had got a hit over here and his whole scalp was off over here and his brains were pouring out from there. Seeing so many mangled bodies in front of you, very disturbing sight. And every time I gave an order to a guy to go left and right and negotiate this or take that bunker or fire on so-and-so and attack so-and-so bunker, it wasn't that boy's face that I saw in front of me. I saw the face of his wife, his son, his daughter, his mother asking me a question, Colonel, why are you sending my son? Don't you know that his chances of coming back alive are very less? It's a tremendous load on a commanding officer. You see, because after the moment has passed, everybody becomes Aristotle. On hindsight, everybody is the wisest man. Everybody will point fingers. He said, why? How? Why have you given such an order where so many people have died? It's a heavy, heavy burden on the commanding officer, and every order that you give will result in death, that's for sure. It might result in success, but it's sure to end up resulting in the deaths of many. That is the time I said I must pause and see what is wrong. I stopped the boys there. I looked around. I saw that the firing was coming most from these two places. One from bunker area and one from Khalubar top. Bunker area I saw about 3-4 bunkers only. And I got hold of the officer who was closest to me, Captain Manoj Pandey. I gave him 40 boys. I said, son, go finish those 2-3 bunkers which are holding us up. Meanwhile, I'll muster whatever people I can over here and I'll charge up simultaneously. And while he got his 40 people and moved there, I was also charging up. What happened with Manoj Pandey was, initially we thought there were just 2-3 bunkers, but there were 6 bunkers echeloned right behind each other. He finished the first, the second, the third by fire and move. You know, you go there, he fires at you. You separate a group over here, they fire back at him, so he fires back at you there. Meanwhile, you separate a group there. He puts your attention here. These people creep in closer. These people creep in closer. Then again he fires it, they creep closer. And then you go close to the enemy. Through that loophole of his bunker, you throw the grenade and you finish it. But it's so easy said. To do it, you require the heart of a lion. And this young boy had it in him. He did that. He finished 3-4 bunkers like this. But when he was at the 4th bunker, or rather the 3rd bunker, he got a bullet, a shot of bullet over here and on his thigh, and he started bleeding profusely. Now this boy at this point of time could have said, I've done my job. and he could have finished off, and he would have rested and taken medical care. When the boys told him, he said, no, I have been ordered to finish this fourth bunker also, and I will finish it. Because the two other bunkers which were further off was finished off by one of our Havaldars, Havaldar Dewan, who also did a brave job, and he charged headlong and he finished those bunkers. So when he crawled closer to the fourth bunker to finish it off, by now he was bleeding profusely, he has lost a lot of blood, he's become weak. He got up, he threw the grenade did the job, but before that he got a burst of bullet right through his head over here, and he died over there. He fell down dead. Just 23 years old, a very, very brave boy from Lucknow, Captain Manoj Pandey. And while all this was happening, we had started moving up towards the Khalubar top here. It was a moonlit evening. I remember the boys ahead of me slashing everything in sight. Whenever the clouds left the moonlight to come through, I could see that the Pathans were being chopped, their heads were being hacked. It was a slope like this. I thought the rocks were falling down. It was actually the heads rolling down, the Pathani heads rolling down. My boys, 5 feet nothing, jumping up and chopping off this Pathan 6 feet something. What a sight. When they saw it happening, for them that was the worst way to go. They left everything and they started running. And finally, we reached the top here by around 4 o'clock in the morning. Just about made it. And the last was a burst of machine gun fire from this side, which hit me on my leg, left leg. And now, before we could settle down, there were approximately about 500 to 600 of us who had started from here. I had kept one platoon over here to make sure that these people don't come down and cut off my rear, and one platoon over here to make sure these people don't come down. And I had proceeded ahead. I had about 2 companies plus, that means about 400 or 400 plus people with me. When I reached on top, I had just barely sat down over there when we were counterattacked. We repulsed the counterattack here, and I asked my boy, let's quickly consolidate this area and count how many of us are on top. When he counted the number of people on top, including me, with a bullet in my leg, we were just 8 of us. And now we were preparing for the next counterattack. And the enemy kept on attacking us here. I think it was the 3rd counterattack when the radio set, which was next to me, started crackling and said, 1-5 Tiger, message over. And I kept saying out, because out means I don't want to speak to you. I said, here I'm fighting for my life, and someone wants directions from me at this point of time. What had happened was, and after some time I said, okay, pass a message. What has happened was, there was one captain who was located here, and from here he could see everything that was happening this side. And he would pass the message to me. Sir, there are about 25 people from the west coming on to you from Khalubar top. They are making noise this side, but they are coming from that side. So with 8 people now, instead of taking an all-round defense, I would face the enemy like this, keep quiet, let them come up. And they were coming up, we were talking with them. They were using the choices, the most parliamentary language that you could think of, and coming up. And I was also giving back to them in equal measure. And then I would suddenly get up, fire at them and sit down. Things went off like this for some time, 3 nights. And after that, we were running short of ammunition. I had only 2 bullets in my magazine, I distinctly remember. And I looked at my boys, they were also looking sad. They also said just 1, 2, they were giving me signals over there. And the mood was down in the dumps. And that is the time I said, I must change the mood, otherwise things will be bad. So again, the Pakistanis, they were coming up. ऐसे कर देंगे, वैसे कर देंगे. I told you I had a Punjabi friend. The best, I'm sure he would have been very proud of me. My vocabulary was fantastic. It was absolutely flawless. And I gave it back to him in chaste Punjabi. But my boys were quiet, because in Gurkhas we hardly curse, you don't use these galis. I said, I must now improve the situation, they're getting too grim. So when they were giving galis, I got up, I said, bloody fools, तुम्हारे कमांडिंग ऑफिसर साहब को ये लोग इतना गंदा गाली दे रहा है, तुम लोग चुपचाप बैठा है, गाली दो. The boys looked at each other like this, they started nudging each other. They said, this is a very tough task, but if the commanding officer has said, because of the discipline in the Gurkhas, you cannot disobey. And they finally found Ram Bahadur, who was from Dehradun, where they thought he must have learned something at least. So he got up, took out his kukri and looked at me like this. I said, yes, yes, Kali do. He looked up, he was I think 4 feet nothing, not even 5 feet nothing. Over the slope where the Pakis were coming from there, he says, Pakistani kutta, upar aega tera mundi kaat dega. So I told him, I said, Ram Bahadur, पाकिस्तानी लोग मरेगा लेकिन वो हंस हंस के मरेगा कि गोरखा लोग गाली भी नहीं दे सकता है. But that got the mood going and they said, साहब गोली नहीं है तो क्या हो गया है, हमारे पास खुकरी है ना, खुकरी से मारेगा. I said, good. And then they came. And while they were coming up, I was cursing everything. I was cursing the day I was there. I was cursing everybody on this earth. I said, what is this I have done to deserve such a death? Cold, desolate place. Will my people even get a chance to see my face after that? Because knowing Pakistanis, they mutilate the bodies. Really, I was very, very angry and sore at everybody. I said, what have I done to deserve this? I am going to die in this cold, desolate place. Will people even know that we existed? People must be discussing which movie to see now back home. And somehow, when you see, when they say when the death comes to you suddenly, you don't realize it, it's okay. But when you see death walking and coming towards you, sure-footed, it's not a very good feeling at all. And then suddenly I remembered that my brigade commander had said, that after a few days, you might get additional artillery which can give you support here. I said, fine. I asked my artillery officer, do we have the guns? He said, they have just come. What do you want? I said, you fire on my head. He said, please repeat. I said, fire 6 rounds rapid fire. He had 18 guns, 6 into 18, 108 bombs. I said, fire on my head. Then I had to use Punjabi to convince him to fire fast. And he did. He gave me fire. I remember the Pakistanis came up over there, and as they came up, the shelling started. They didn't know, we knew it. We had hidden ourselves in absolutely, by now we had become an expert over there. We knew where the bombs were coming from. And the bombs fell all around there. I could see the Pakis blowing right in front of me. Thrice it happened. And on the 4th day, my second in command, he came up with the reinforcements. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to tell you, the first 11 Gurkha rifles planted the Tiranga Jhanda on Khalubar top. We have done that. I have told you in very, very brief thing, because the stories can go on and on. I told you it's basically a never-ending saga. It can go on. There are so many brave boys, so many people did so many things, but I cannot because of the lack of time. But suffice to say, when I told the general that I had taken Khalubar top, first he said, are you sure? I said, sir, I am standing here and I'm sure about it. He said, in that case, Lalit, you have given us the biggest victory of battalion. It is the turning point. Can you please capture this area? He actually said that to me. I said, sir, I have not eaten food, I'm just skin and bones. He said, okay, I don't mind to take about 24 hours rest. I said, fine. I took 24 hours rest, and I am happy to tell you, I had some fantastic young officers. We captured this complete area over here, this area, 0.5300 was the last place where we got stuck. There was another battalion given a task to capture part of this here. We captured our part here, they could not capture their part. For 2 days we kept on getting bombarded by the enemy because this point was held by them. Till I again volunteered, and one of our officers, whose father is also here amongst us, he was part of the commando group whom I sent from behind like this. They climbed up like lizards from behind. The Pakis didn't know where these people came from, and they attacked them, and we chased them back from 5300, and they've gone. Ours was the first battalion that was inducted. We were the first ones to chase them beyond the line of control. And in the next 11 days, we had captured as many as 11 posts, formidable posts of the enemy. And for this sterling performance, the President of India and the Chief of Army Staff gave us the unit citation. We got the Paramveer Chakra for the nation's highest award for Captain Manoj Pandey. 3 Veer Chakras include mine. 32 gallantry awards, and above all, my battalion now has been given the title of the bravest of the brave. Without taking much time, I'll just quickly run through some of the vignettes of the battles in battalic sector. I'm sure you'd like to see some of it. It's very interesting. This is what a sangar looks like. Loose stones without cement, but you can see the loophole. This is the backside view. You can see the loophole. They put the machine gun over here and they fire in front. When you fire back, it's ineffective unless you blow it up. This is General Kishan Pal. He's the corps commander. Is the audio on? He's the corps commander who was there in battle, and he has something to tell us about 11 GR.
The Untitled Chapter, the turning point came the moment Khalubar ridge was captured. And the lion's share for capture of Khalubar ridge goes to 111 GR under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Lalit Rai.
The 111 Rai is a proud battalion with a history of fierce loyalty and ferocious combat. There are few fighting forces in the world that can match the friendship of the Gurkhas. To the cries of Jai Ma Kali, these forces were unleashed upon the Pakistanis in Khalubar.
These are the lines of Khalubar. We saw one of the most intensive battles in recent military history,
where the Untitled Chapter, the turning point came the moment Khalubar ridge was captured.
Okay, this is the rocket launcher. You see how we destroyed the bunkers over there. This is how we charged up. These are the lower areas later on when we do the operations. This is a destroyed bunker, like the one which you saw being blown up. And these red roundels over here, you can see red blotches over here. If you check it out, it will have Pakistani DNA. These are the multi-barrel rockets which are firing in support. They can fire and give you support from 30 kilometers behind. This is the artillery support which we got. The gunners did a wonderful job, saved my life. Those were the type of cannons which gave me 108 bombs on my head. This is the Indian Air Force over Kargil. They also gave us very good support, and initial stages they did blow up a lot of administrative dumps of the enemy which was behind the in the area, in the region next to the line of control. But the Pakis had with them the Stinger missiles, and the Stinger missiles have got an umbrella range of 4 kilometers. Therefore, the Air Force had to have a standoff distance of almost 6 kilometers from the top from where they had to fire. And since the interstate distance between us and the enemy was so close, I mean we were eyeball to eyeball, possibly nothing much could be given in terms of ground support, ground fire support. We keep complaining about conditions. Ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai, this is not there, that is not there. See the conditions that we functioned in. This is the attack plan that I am making, which could result in the deaths of thousands of people. I just had a map sheet with me like this and my people around me, and we are making our major plans on that. This is how I used to talk to my boys before the battle to stir them up. And this is one of those last few operations that were left. And after this, we were supposed to go beyond this mountain over here and attack enemy post. This is the puja that we used to do before any battle, the puja of the kukri, the might of the Gurkha soldier. That was young Rawat. This is Major R.L. Singh with his kukri. Don't be fooled by the small size of the kukri. Preparation for war, you just see what happens, how they start sharpening their kukris. The most fearless fighters, the Gurkhas, I think it was General Manekshaw who said, if someone tells you that he is not scared of death, he says either he is a big liar or he is a Gurkha. This is how we took the cover from enemy shelling. This is a favorite picture of mine. You see this was over here. This is all wild grass. I sent a guy walking 2 days just to get this wild grass for this was. And what is this was? It's just a 60mm bomb container. And this small support over here on which the Durga's statue is there is actually an empty ammunition box. This cylindrical object on which we put agarbattis is a 81mm bomb container. This big base on which the mandir rests is an empty rocket crate. This black cylindrical object where we have put rice and other offerings to God is actually a rocket launcher container cap. This small thing on which the diyas are burning is actually a small arms ammunition crate. And the diyas which are burning bright are actually used automatic grenade launcher shells. We just put dalda and put them. Now this picture I just wanted to share with you. I shared with my boys. I said, look, whenever we went for an operation, we drew a lot of shakti, a lot of powers from this place before the attack. And after the war was over, all these items were salvage items. We threw them off. I said, where was the shakti? Where was that power? I said, it's within you. Taj Blue Diamond is the 5-star hotel in Pune, and this is my 5-star hotel there. You can see my skin is almost burnt. Normally what happens is when you are in high altitude, your whole skin gets burnt, and then you can peel it off like paper, like this. That's why I was in a lighter mood telling people that Hindustan Lever would have been the happiest people to come here and take us for advertisements for their Fair and Lovely. You just take it, peel it off, So this is the Taj Blue Diamond of mine. Whenever I slept, my head was in one level, my torso was in another level, and my legs were in a different level. But yet it was a very, very comfortable and a lovely place. This was the weather prior to our attack of Khalubar. Absolutely marrow-chilling, freezing, painful, and you can see us there. We are just waiting for that hour to come for us to move ahead. And this is the Khalubar top. Isn't it lovely? This is the victory at Khalubar top. You can see the machine guns. When the machine guns fired at us, you know what is the rate of the machine gun fire? The huge 14.7 mm. It was actually an air defense gun which they were firing at us. And I remember once I was hiding behind a rock, and these bullets would come, and every time a bullet came, it ate up part of that rock. And I was getting scared, if this fellow keeps on firing at it like this, soon it will come through. Huge. And the rate of fire is 1,000 rounds a minute. And there are almost 30 odd machine guns like this firing at us. This was one of my boys who had this thing in one of the later operations. You can see the mood of the boys. See, they are standing very far off and you can hear them screaming even there. Look at that. This is the felled enemy at Khalubar. Most of the places, the bodies had no heads. I had given them strict orders not to chop heads of people whom we have, who are all, where the places where we almost captured, but my boys in a rush, they didn't spare anybody. And when I wanted to visit that place, they quickly got the heads and the torsos together. But they made a few mistakes, wrong torso, wrong head, with the result, some of them had extremely long necks. We had enough to fill up a whole hall like this, amount of things we captured. These are the Stinger missiles, deadly. The Americans had given it to the Pakistanis during the Afghan war. They're trying their best to buy them back, giving them 10 times the price, but the Pakistanis are not giving it back. It's a very, very versatile weapon. This is the first prisoner of war at Batalic, but rest assured, he is not one of the chaps who've been captured by us because we didn't capture anybody. But he was from the 5 Northern Light Infantry which was opposed to us, and he was crying profusely. When I told him, now see the day is over, now the battle is over, you can go back to your regiment. He says, Janab, kaun si regiment? Aap log ne to sab khatam kar diya hamara. And he had actually requested that before he is sent to Delhi, he should be shown a Gurkha soldier. And that is why I had taken one of my boys to meet this band. People were saying that, Musharraf was saying that no, it was not the soldiers, they were just those militants. So I'll just show you something very interesting here. The other man is my second in command there. You see the chain, ammunition chain? Identity cards. Frontier regiment was. Clips of the captain whom we had killed over there. The ribbons. Their pay books are absolutely like ours. Left back from the British Raj, not a comma or a spelling left or right. We could have used it for our own. Surprisingly, in the initial stages, we captured a lot of these pay books and identity cards. But when the TV people started showing all this, probably they got the orders to hide all these and they pulled them back. 5 Northern Light Infantry. These are the bodies of Pakistani soldiers. This Maulvi who's standing here giving the last rites is from the Indian Army. I don't know how many of you know that one of our regiments has a Muslim company and they fought very well. And a very fascinating thing happened in Kargil. The battle cry of this company is Allahu Akbar. And when they went and attacked that post saying Allahu Akbar, the Pakistanis stopped firing thinking that by mistake our own people are attacking us. And they captured it. So Musharraf refused to take their bodies, dead bodies back, because taking it back would mean accepting the fact that the Pakistani soldiers took part in this war. And while they mutilated our bodies, we were taught in the Indian Army that your enemy is your enemy till such time he is alive. But once he is dead, please give him the full honors of a soldier. Because he was doing his duty. And we buried them with full honors like this. And the complete military, the complete armies of the world, they wrote back and said, the Indian Army has truly become a very professional and a good army on this account. This is the Insas bullet which we use in our weapons. And this is the bullet that was being used by the Pakistanis on us, 14.7 mm. This is the 105 mm shell and this is the 130 mm shell. And the ones which was fired on top of us, the Bofors, was 155 millimeters. This is the binocular that saved my life. At one point of time when I had this binocular on my chest, 2 shots rang out from the sniper. He was aiming at my heart and the bullet went in like this and came out like this. I still have this binocular with me. This is Captain Manoj Pandey, Paramveer Chakra, a brave young boy. We were very fascinated because when we went to NDA, we pulled out his dossier to see what he had written when he was a young officer. Most of us, when we go to the academy and we are asked to write as to what you want to be and what you want to achieve in life, you have to write a small essay. Most of us write, I want to be the Chief of Army Staff, I want to be a general, I want a foreign posting, I want to be the commanding officer, etc., etc. We keep saying that. You know what this young boy had written? He had just written that when I grow up, I want to take part in a war and I want to win the Paramveer Chakra. But the saddest thing is, it had to be posthumous. I only wish it was while he was alive. This is the President giving me the Veer Chakra. This is the Chief of Army Staff giving me the parchment for the bravest of the brave. This is a silver thing where it is written. This is during the music launch of LOC at Mumbai. That is JP Datta. Fascinating thing here is the actual Faujis are in civils and the actors are in uniform. When I went to attend this function, this gentleman Sudesh Berry in LOC plays my role, Colonel Lalit Rai. He walks up to me with a jacket where Lalit Rai is written there and he says, "Good morning, Colonel, I am Colonel Lalit Rai." I said, "Nice to meet you, sir." I was telling you that Pakistan has always been saying that they are winning. Now just look at this. Kargil has been Pakistan's biggest blunder. Pakistani people who were told that Pakistan is winning the war are bewildered and humiliated. Benazir Bhutto herself is writing this. In the next one, where Brigadier Siddiqui, who are hardcore Fauji, he himself has written, Kargil was no trophy for Pakistan. Was it then a trauma? A rash word to use. Someone at a recent seminar called it a catastrophe, another faux pas, yet another debacle, and so on. I think the fourth estate, our boys, the media boys, they did a wonderful job. For once, Pakistan knows very, very clearly that it has really got a spanking, and they have not won the war. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to place on record my grateful thanks to young Aditya Soni and other committee members, C.N. Kumar, Jairaj, etc., for this wonderful initiative, the Thimayya Memorial initiative which they have started. It is a great feeling as an old Cottonian to be here amongst the other Cottonians and the future leaders, the present Cottonians. When I came here and stood outside, I was mesmerized. The school is looking beautiful, much better than what it was when we were here. But like I requested the principal, I said, you have the place where I am standing here, probably I had a lot of wrestling matches with my friends. This was the 3rd level field. I said, please, as a request from an old Cottonian, do not remove the other fields for other buildings. Please maintain them. As a true Cottonian, I've been, every school that I go to, I've been priding myself by saying I'm an old Cottonian, and perhaps ours is the only school which has got 4 playing fields, the 1st level, 2nd level, 3rd level, and 4th level. And as you grow in age and your class, you keep getting promoted to your levels, to your 1st level. I remember playing in all these fields over here, till I played for the school team, and when I was in 8th standard, the football team. And to my young friends, all I have to say is, you have a long way to go. You have a fantastic history behind you. You have such illustrious people who are here, some of them are here, and some of them who are past, who are like beacons, who are like people you can idolize, heroes whom you can emulate. Please keep the Cottonian spirit high. Please keep it living high. I wish you all the best in your endeavors, and I would also like to thank the school, the principal, and the rest of you to have taken out your time to come and listen to a humble soldier. It augurs well, like I said, that a soldier has been honored. When you honor me here as a soldier, you actually honor all the soldiers. And I represent today the soldiers who fought. And some of my boys, who cannot be here today because they gave their everything. Probably this message in the terms of an epitaph which I took from the tombs of Kohima, and it will aptly describe what they want to say. When you go home, tell them of us and say. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Colonel Lalit Rai, you are indeed the bravest of the brave, and present Cottonians, friends, old boys, this is what Cottons is all about. Due to paucity of time, and I'm given to understand that the students also have exams on the anvil, I request you to keep the Q&A as short as possible. Perhaps we'll take about, subject to Colonel Lalit's convenience, maybe about 3 or 4 questions. I would request you to kindly briefly introduce yourself and make a very brief comment or pose a brief question, please. Thank you. Yeah. Chakra.
Like an army man would say, sir, please shoot.
Certainly, Colonel. You know who I am.
Sir.
I think I wish I had given the introduction that my friend Suchindranath Iyer gave. I could have recalled quite a few episodes of your behavior here in Cottons, which would have given us a lot of fun. Yes, I'd just like to say just one of the things, because I'm addressing the school after all. Thank you for being a Cottonian. Thank you for making me feel so proud to say that I was in Cottons with Lalit Rai.
Thank
you very much. Everybody knows what Colonel is. I'd just like to share one of few things. Colonel was, I knew him well. He was probably the most beautiful boy that ever joined Cottons because he was very good looking.
You say
Yeah. And well, there was a time when he had to do change. He went to of all the colleges he joined. It was Satyasai College. Satyasai College, gentlemen. Well, Colonel Rai and Satyasai College decided that they could go on better. He went on better, went on to the NDA, found out a beautiful lady in NDA, married a beautiful lady, and went on to become adjutant NDA scholar also of the OTU. A lot of things. I'm proud of him. He has gone a long way, considering that most of us in school, he went on straight on. It was not his problem that the road turned. So he went on. Okay, besides, Colonel, There's only one question I asked. Yes, you have done a lot, but I believe the Indian Army today is suffering from a big shortage of officer material. You as an officer know that many of the regiments are now running today at almost 25-30% vacancies. In some of the technical regiments, as much as 50% officer vacancies. What do you as an officer think we all should do to help better the situation? Thank you.
There's a saying in Maharashtra that everybody wants another Shivaji to be born, but not in their house, in the neighbor's house. I think that sums it up all. I think it's high time we look into this. It's important to have money, it's important to have a good life, but it's equally important to have good people at the helm of affairs where it matters, where the security of the nation matters. Rest I leave it to you. Any other questions?
Lokesh?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lokesh Agrappa. I'm 76 batch. In fact, I do remember Colonel Lalit Rai. He was a wonderful sportsman. My question to you, Colonel, is you yourself mentioned that you used to settle a few scores in school by going behind the chapel. Now, for people who don't like war and fighting, do you think there could be a better way of sorting out these kind of issues? You've fought 3 wars for your admission already on this Siachen glacier, and there will probably be many more. Now, just in lighter way, couldn't you just have, say, a Siachen glacier hockey match and just finish it off, or a football match? You know, this I just like your opinion on this. Since today, I think we would rather not fight wars. All due respect to what the army is doing, but it's a little difficult for some people to understand.
I would like to say 2 things here. Firstly, surprising as it may sound, that the people who love peace most is perhaps most of the Indian Army. Who likes war? We don't like war. But you should also know that a military action is basically an extension of a political will. And when the political will wills it, I don't think a military man should have any choice or any doubts. And as far as resolving issues peacefully is concerned, I'm all for it. I think that's a wonderful thing to happen. But like, again, George Bernard Shaw said, to have peace, you must wage war. So we are caught in this loop.
And if I could hasten to add that if we did fix up a football match, we would win, because I have read that General Thimayya, when he was part of the then Hyderabad and later Kumaon, his 2 major challenges were to beat the Sikh regiment in hockey and the Gurkhas in football. I think he did it in hockey. I don't think he did it in football.
Thank you.
General Paul?
Well, the presentation is so good and so full of motivation. Have you given this presentation to the Army headquarters? Who could use this material, drawing material to the Army?
Well, I haven't given it to the Army headquarters, sir, but I must share with you the genesis of me making this presentation and giving it to people, especially schools and colleges. I have done it to a fair degree. The genesis is, for the first 6 months after the war, I did not speak to anybody. I couldn't speak to anybody. I used to get nightmares, and I used to sweat from the nape of my neck even while sleeping. I couldn't even get sleep. I used to get total nightmares. And one day, once the dust settled down, one of the widows came up to me, and she had collected all whatever she was due. We had called her to the regiment, to the battalion, and before leaving, she came and cried in front of me. She had 2 small toddlers, and she asked me, "Sir, you've told me that my husband was a very brave man, and that he really did well in war, and he sacrificed himself, he sacrificed everything. But she says, tell me, besides you and few of the battalion officers and the men, how many other people know what my husband did? Will they ever know? And these words actually stung me. They actually stung me, and from that day onwards, whenever I get a chance, I always try and convey what our boys did out there. So that is my inspiration, and that is the true genesis of my talks. I hope I have answered your question, sir.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Robert.
I really don't have a question this evening, but when I came by this evening, my name is Robert Kin, and I was the same 71 batch with Lalit Rai, and when I came to the front of the auditorium this evening, somebody thought that I was the speaker's brother, because we happened to look alike. But we were together. I think Lalit Rai was in 10C when we were in the 10th, and 10C, right?
Yes.
10C section, and we were in the garden block, if you remember well.
Which was the section which never studied well and got low marks?
I was in B, and all I can remember,
He changed it to B, now you are also in C.
No, I was in B, and I only remember those of the Cottonians that really excelled in games and sports, because we were most of the time on the field, like Colonel Lalit said, in the first 11 field, second 11 field, the third 11 field. And our principal there, I must recognize this evening, is Mr. Balra is there. And I was in Patton Wall's house. And he did very encourage us both in academics and in games. And both of us, he remembered me that we played football together for the first 11 that year in 1971, I think. And Lalit Rai was an excellent football player. And he played right in. That time we had 5-3-2, he played right in. And I supported him with playing the right half, and Lalit was in Pope House. And this evening, when I heard that Lalit was speaking here, I made it a point. I think it's after 35 years that we just got to meet this evening. And I just want to congratulate you, and that was a splendid presentation, Lalit. And we're proud of you, all of the performance.
I would just like to draw attention of everybody here. We have amongst us here a proud father of a young officer who was serving with me at the time of war. His name was that time Captain Akshay Chandran, and his father, Colonel Kian Chandran, was also the commanding officer of 711 GR, which is the sister battalion of 1st 11 GR. He was also my commanding officer when I was serving with 711 GR, and I think I'll be failing in my duty unless until I ask him to stand up, because his son did a great job in war. Sir, Colonel Kian Chandran.
We also take this opportunity to place on record our gratitude to many of the other Gorkha Rifle officers who joined us today. PC.
Today is in March of 90, and
From?
90. So I'm proud to be a Cottonian, sir.
My God, that says it all, my boy. We all are proud.
So I always like to tell to the parents who don't like to send their sons to join the army.
We are also proud. Thank you.
So I always like to tell the parents who don't like to send their sons to the army or something.
I can only tell them to send them.
I think that is the only question as far as Lalit is concerned, because he is himself a third generation army man.
Good evening, Colonel Lalit Rai. My name is Shivdev, and I am from the 1973 batch, 73.
Okay.
One question is, will there ever be an end to this confrontation or this struggle for the control of Kashmir, or will there be many more Kargil wars in the future?
Do you really feel Kashmir is the issue? Because now I have started doubting that. I think the issue and the malady is much deeper. I think it's more psychological than Kashmir itself. Because right from the beginning when you are taught to hate someone, I think there's something wrong. It's not just Kashmir. Kashmir is just an excuse, I feel.
But will there be an end to this kind of loss of lives, precious lives, and the soldiers being sacrificed?
Well, I really don't know whether I'm qualified, but what I can say is there has to be a change. It will come, but the question is how long, I don't know. But yes, it has to come.
Thank you.
Prem? You mentioned that you got a bullet on your leg and for 3 days you managed. Well, when we get a headache, we can't manage for 15 minutes. How did you manage for 3 days? Was there any medical aid available? And if not, despite that, how you fought the battle, it is creditable. It's most incredible. And I take my hats off.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Colonel. It's an absolute pleasure to hear on that. My name is Prem Berkey from the 1976 batch. A single question is, what was lacking on the ammunitions, and it is believed that there wasn't sufficient air support that was provided during the Kargil war. Is it a true fact?
I don't think that's very true. I told you what were the problems. Of course, initially there was, I believe, a little reluctance in the use of air power because that would amount to escalating the war itself. But as far as the Air Force is concerned, I think they gave us good support. But there were problems because, as I understand, for the Air Force to give you ground support fire, the interstate distance between you and the enemy has to be at least 1 kilometer. And in mountains it is not possible. It was eyeball to eyeball. We were actually talking to each other every day. So in a scenario like that, I don't think Air Force could have done much. But as far as the other supplies, flying in of other your attack helicopters, etc. was concerned, I think they did a fair job. Must give them their due. Thank you.
We'll make this the last question, please.
Anyone else?
So, I'm Thomas from 9th standard, sir. So we're all proud of Cottons and all said and done, but what is it that Cottons gives us, or it gave you, that helped you to lead up from front to Kargil? And what is it that we have to look forward to inculcate in Cottons?
Good question. Excellent question. I would say this, that my basic grounding in Cottons was so good. We were made to believe over here that if you dare, then you can do it. We were made to believe that there is no such word as impossible. And we were made to believe that once you make up your mind to do something, see through it right till the end. And the amount of support and the amount of interaction with my friends only helped me strengthen my beliefs on such matters. And it is because of this strength and the core value that I possessed as a Cottonian that carried me through. Throughout my academy, my career, and even towards the war, where I had that quality in me and that value in me to say that yes, I can and I will. So please carry that in you.
For your cooperation, and as a token of our gratitude, may I request Lalit to please wait on stage for a moment. And we're deeply honored to have with us Mrs. Mirai Chembapa, General Thimayya's daughter. And could I request Auntie Mirai to kindly present Colonel Lalit with a token of our appreciation. Mr. Chembapa.
So please come.
We're also delighted to have with us Mrs. Lalit Rai, and may I request Mr. M.G. Mutana, the patron of the Old Boys Association, to kindly present Mrs. Rai with a token of our appreciation. Thank you, Mr. Mutana. I'm delighted now to request my comrade, General Thimayya, 1976, someone who's worked tirelessly along with the rest of our committee on this year's lecture, to deliver the vote of thanks.
That's a pretty hard act to follow. I think it is indeed a great challenge and responsibility to lead men into battle. I think it requires men of vision, of moral courage, and as we've seen here, of uncompromising principles and of exceptional leadership ability. Colonel Rai, your talk this evening has helped us come closer to an understanding of what this means. And I think one thing is certainly clear, be it on the battlefield or for us civilians, there is only one place to lead from, and that is the front. Again, for us civilians, there's nothing more that stirs our emotion more than individual acts of bravery and heroism. And as we've seen tonight, it is not something to be trivialized. I think again for us civilians, as we reflect on what Lalit has said, no matter how we prepare ourselves or are prepared by our families, our institutions, our society, we can never predict that single moment of challenge, nor our reaction to it, if it ever comes. Those circumstances that you've described this evening are as inspirational as they are aspirational. But like all great acts of men and women, maybe the context is far less complex than we think. I've always been struck by the inscription on the Victoria Cross, recognized as the highest award for gallantry in battle. It says, quite simply, for valor. Over the 31 years that have elapsed since I have passed out of Cottons, I have struggled with the ideal instilled in each boy here of the need to be a good all-rounder. Was this just an excuse to be a jack of all trades and a master of none? Or perhaps to answer your question, that young boy behind, was this a call to rise above mediocrity? Ordinary boys on their way to becoming extraordinary men. As we go down the roles of those illustrious boys who have passed through the portals of this institution and evaluate their achievements, I cannot but conclude that the foundations of excellence and of success were built and inculcated in this very school. Perhaps Colonel Rai also took heed of the words of the great American General George S. Patton, who once said, by perseverance, study, and eternal desire, any man can become great. While Cottons instilled in us those characteristics of perseverance, study, and desire, the responsibility and the onus to build on these foundations is ours, yours, and yours alone. I'm sure, as Lalit has pointed out, this school did indeed prepare him for those events that transpired many decades after he left this place. Being a great leader is neither a fait accompli nor is it an accident waiting to happen. True leadership is the select domain of a very, very few group of people. Our inspiration for this series of annual lectures, General KST Medal, was one of those exclusive few. But fear not, there is hope for the rest of us. Great men and women need not necessarily be great leaders. In the days before General Thimayya left for Cyprus, this was in the mid-60s, he spent time in the school. He used to sit on the parapet wall of the first 11, watching the boys go through their drills. I cannot begin to presume what he was thinking as he looked at them and reflected on his own life and his illustrious career. But I do have a personal insight into the direction of his thoughts, which I would like to share with you this evening. In the early 60s, when I was about 4 years old, my father used to bring me to the school. And while he would go into the principal's office to attend meetings of the Board of Governors, he would leave me with the general saying, "General, I'm leaving my son in your care for the next hour." And for that hour or so, a little boy and a great general sat mostly in silence. And he would ask that little boy, "So young man, what will you become when you grow up?" I think for a 4-year-old boy, that's an extremely difficult question to answer. Perhaps my answer would have been a pilot, a priest, a teacher, or a doctor. But in hindsight, I now understand that that question was far more profound than it would appear. What will you become? General Thimayya, I believe, was asking all those boys on the first 11, and I included, where our calling to greatness and excellence lay. It was not a vocational question. Your career, Colonel Rai, has shown us this very, very important distinction. This evening, I would like to thank the principal, Colonel John Ellis, for his succinct introductory remarks, his support and belief in this event. Our distinguished guests from the armed forces, both serving and retired, friends of the Bishop Cotton Boys School, whose continued support we solicit, friends and family of General Thimayya. Be assured that his legacy will endure and continue to inspire and motivate all those who attend this institution, as it will those who join our armed forces. I would like to thank all Cottonians present and those who have sent their greetings and best wishes from all over the world. To our present Cottonians, as Colonel Rai pointed out, the future is yours to make real. My fellow members of the working committee of this lecture series who have worked tirelessly to make this event a reality. Not present here is Rohan Narayanamurthy. He's in Boston, but he was responsible for putting up the website. If you haven't seen it, please go to it. And lastly, I would like to thank our speaker, Colonel Lalit Rai. Like the Victoria Cross, I will say quite simply, for eloquence. As we look forward, we must bury thoughts of our own personal legacy and perceived greatness. We must rededicate ourselves to this great institution. We need to remind ourselves that the future is not about us as individuals. It is about those events yet to unfold. It is about the men and women who will follow in our wake for all eternity. carrying in their hands the baton of leadership and achievement.
Thank you very much, Jayaraj. And before we adjourn for dinner at the Bangalore Club, may I request all of you, and I'm thankful to Shabir for prompting me on this, to kindly stand for a minute's silence as a tribute to our valiant soldiers. Thank you, and may I request you to please remain standing for the national anthem.
So say all of us, so say all of us, he's a jolly good fellow, he's a jolly good fellow, he's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you? Fine, how are you doing? Come.